Madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. And you don't see the look behind their smile. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. Taste of your pleasure and your sorrow breathing in your blood. It's never enough. Program reality, double think duality. Root upon the face of all mankind. The numbers up and the dead coincide. Go along to get along.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Thursday, August the 24th, 2023. So glad you have you with us. Already got Joe up in the chat. What's up, Joe? Glad to have you with us tonight. We're going to get into a few topics. This was going to be a Skype call show with Tim, but when I tried to Skype him, I couldn't get a hold of him. But whenever I booted up my Skype tonight, it made me sign all the way in, and it hadn't saved my username or anything, so I had to go through a whole bunch of crap to even get it to line up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did too. I'm used to it wanting to update every time I run it, but it usually doesn't make me sign in. So anyway, glad to have you with us tonight. Go ahead and jump into the chat. Let us know what you think about any of these topics. We're going to go ahead and kick it into the show. Hopefully Tim will be able to get his Skype going and give us a call and jump in. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the chat. Start us off by asking you to go over to our Rumble channel. If you're not subscribed to this channel already, please do so. That way you can get notifications. Click the little bell down right there, and we can get you again on every Sunday and Thursday at 10 p.m. when we do these live shows. I wanted to show you, I've got the link for our Rumble in the description of the YouTube video, and we've got us a video that we made. Oh gosh, it's got an ad on it. We're not making any money off of that. Somebody is, but it's not us. But we made a kind of AI powered version by feeding the lyrics of our song "The Men Behind the Curtain" into this AI generator, and I thought it was pretty cool. So go check that video out and give us a like on there, and follow us on Rumble so we can get up to 100 followers so we can live stream on Rumble. And that way YouTube is not the only game in town for us, and we can still get in touch with y'all even if YouTube is down, or if they decide to censor us, which they from time to time do. Usually if you talk anything about COVID or 2020 election, even if you are not asserting something that it goes against their narrative, maybe you might just be saying that someone else asserted something that goes against their narrative, it can strike the channel, and that's really been the main thing. I mean, copyright stuff, we don't really get strikes for that. Most people are pretty cool about letting you use their stuff as long as you pay them something, if you're getting paid off of it. So yeah, that's always an option for us to have Rumble. All our videos go there, but it's a couple days after the stream on YouTube. So definitely go check those out, like the videos there, and subscribe. Let's get into the stories for the night. I called it. See, Tim, I was hoping he would be here because he sent me a story months ago about quantum Chattanooga. So that's what we're going to end up with. But I did see, we've been talking a lot about vehicle fires. I've said several times on the show, what's up with all the vehicle fires? And I noticed a Scanner Food posted on Facebook today, so many vehicle fires. And if you go back on the Scanner Food Facebook page, there's just, all kinds of them that you can go back through over the summer. And, there are a lot of vehicles, but man, this seems like a whole lot of fires. And the folks at Scanner Food are definitely in a place to see that. I think they're a volunteer page on Facebook, but we've also got a volunteer page, and this is a shout out to local citizens, volunteers taking action. And this is the kind of thing we advocate on the show. We've also talked about the Agora, but I've talked an awful lot about your local system next to you is the closest thing to you having control of your government that you have, right? So if you can affect that, get involved in any other way, if you can hold their feet to the fire, like some of these pages do, like Elizabeth and Carter County Priority News and Alerts. This is a volunteer page. It's got 30,000 followers. They put out a lot of important bulletins. Like the other day, there was one. Like this, it seems kind of like a minor thing even, but there was this from Priority News and Alerts. 19E across from the Carter County Jail broke down school bus. If your children are arriving home late, don't panic. They have to all offload the children onto another bus when law enforcement arrives for traffic control. So that seems like a minor thing, but I've experienced parents, and I've wondered before too, where's the bus? When are my kids getting home? And it's not like anybody ever called me, but if you had your alerts set up on this page, you'd be able to see something like that. And I am also very excited to announce that we're going to be having next Thursday, his schedule permitting, a volunteer involved with that page, Constable Dustin Baker, come in the studio and talk to us a little bit about the page, talk to us about his role, how they do what they do, and getting all these alerts out to people and monitoring situations. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of questions for him about how they're able to do this operation, but the main reason I want to talk to him is because this is, just little guys like you and me, independent journalism, independent media, doing their thing, getting the word out to people. We're the big networks and even local broadcast television are pretty hard to break into. So this is, and they're owned by things like what are they called? Sinclair and Nexstar own the local news channels. So that's a big outside corporation that decides what goes on there. I mean, of course, there is some local control, but Tim sent me this a few months ago, and I think it was Tim that sent it to me. But there is the nation's first all-digital public television station coming to Bristol, Hard Rock TV Bristol. And I thought this was pretty interesting. Let's watch the video first, and I'll tell you why I thought it was interesting after that. It's just about 2 minutes long, so. Oh, I don't know if you can hear it. Hang on. So usually I have Tim in here to talk a little bit more, so I can work on getting this stuff set up properly, but on my own tonight, hopefully. Like I said, Tim will jump in there. Yep, desktop audio is muted. We don't want that if we want you to be able to hear it. Why am I talking so fast, Joe? Because I got a lot to say, brother. Got a lot to say. This ain't riding around the truck time. We got to spit it out and spit it out fast. Let's go to the nation's first all-digital public TV station coming to Hard Rock, Bristol.
Bristol Casino is a construction zone these days, not just for the new permanent Hard Rock Bristol Resort. This will be home to the new PBS Appalachia.
Many of our studio shows will be produced on location here in a glass-enclosed studio, so people who want to come by and see what we're doing or watch live productions as they happen can come join us for that.
The new facility includes a TV and podcast studio, as well as a control room. Here, the public will be able to watch show production in action.
People like to see how TV is produced, the magic of TV, and we want to share that with them.
The new studio for PBS Appalachia will be in the shops and restaurant area, currently being constructed as Phase 2 of the Hard Rock Bristol.
Join me as I take...
So yeah, what did you think about that? They're building a whole studio inside there for a PBS studio for podcasts and things like this, digital studio. To me, the first thing this thinks is this thinks of the machine trying to emulate what is working and what has been popular. And what has been popular are shows like this all across the country. Pages like Elizabeth and Carter County Priority News and Alerts, so pages like Scanner Food all over the country are popping up outside of the system. You know, we don't, a lot of times when we talk about the mainstream media, we don't really necessarily consider our local news as part of that, but in many ways it is, because they're, like I said, they're owned by Nexstar, Sinclair, things like this. A lot of out of town media corporations bought up a lot of the smaller corporations. So you've probably noticed a lot of your newspapers consolidating, a lot of your television stations consolidating, or that they are owned by somebody else. So I feel like they're trying to emulate the success that people have had, starting even with guys like Joe Rogan, and you know, that showed that all you have to do is have interesting topics of conversation. All you have to do is have interesting guests. All you have to do is have something thoughtful to talk about, or something that you're not getting from somewhere else, and people will tune in and watch it. And there's a lot of people out there seeking that. Like me, for example, a lot of people were talking about the Republican debate that they played the other day. And like I said, this is not a political show, but as the political season comes upon us, we are going to have to delve into that some. But, you know, I couldn't really be more disinterested in that, to be honest. But the thing that I noticed is that they put it on Fox News, and they are not allowing streams or clips of it to be shared except in real limited capacity. So it's almost like it's almost like they're the people over there at Fox News are just bucking against the idea of, oh, well, people on Twitter or whatever might steal this, chop it up, and spread it around. Meanwhile, you'd think that this would be, okay, me as a digital content creator, or a lot of others that I would think of, if you cut our videos up and you share them around, that's bringing attention to our show, and it's making people more likely to tune in than if they hadn't seen that. So it doesn't hurt anything like this. So I can't imagine why they wouldn't want that, unless they're just trying to fight to hold on to control of the airwaves, which are long gone. They're, you know, these guys are they're still in the dinosaur media days, apparently, if they think they're going to put something on, you know, 8 o'clock on Fox, and I think Tucker Carlson actually was interviewing President Trump, or had a video playing of him interviewing President Trump on Twitter at that time. So, but see, that was the smart way to do it, because you can watch that anytime. You know, they put that debate on. They want everybody to tune in right now. They're trying to sell advertising for you to watch it right now while it's on the air. And we got a lot of other options. No truck time. That's right. Yeah. So I feel like that's them trying to emulate the success of the independent media that has jumped up all over the country, and I don't think people are buying it, man. I mean, because if you go in there, and they said they're going to have a podcast studio, if you go in there and record a podcast, they are ultimately in control of what podcast gets published through their studio. So you're kind of still in the same situation you're in, and they're saying like, oh, we're just going to open this up for the public and let people come in. No, they'll still have a list of approved publications. They don't have so much time, right? So it's not the same as you know, invest in your own time and money and setting up a studio and doing it yourself. Maybe they'll have some more success. I don't know, but I would just as soon do it my way. And let's see. And that's the cool thing about this platforms today, these streaming platforms, as many rules and things as they have, they do largely allow you to do it your way. And I think that's really cool. And so, to sum it up, big shout out to Elizabeth and Carter County Priority News and Alerts. Thank you for any of their viewers who came our way, and we'd love to have you back for our Sunday show, and then we'd love to have you back on our Thursday show where we talk to Constable Dustin Baker. So, let's go on to the next story here. There is a movie being filmed in the Tri-Cities. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? There's a movie by 353 Studios that is, they're based out of Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia, and they're having a huge casting call for extras. They need about 80 people, and they're doing it today. And this open for anybody in the East Tennessee or Southwest Virginia, and you can contact them for an audition. They're apparently making a video of some sort about human trafficking, or making a movie, and there are lots of open roles for, you know, I noticed there are girls who's kidnapped, a woman kidnapper, a few extras, delivery guy who brings the girl, employee of human trafficking organization. There's a reporter, a journalist. Apparently, all the women on Facebook are commenting that they'd like to be the journalist. That's always the fun role in the movie, right? So, like I said, about 80 different roles they're looking here for. I don't know. I feel like I might could. What do you think? If you didn't know me, do you think I could? I think I could pull off a bad guy, with the right look here. So I might go out for one of those. Might be fun. Anybody in the audience ever done any acting? No check-in from Tim. Yeah, he must not be able to get that going tonight. But definitely reach out to 353 Studios here in Bristol if you'd like to be a part of that. Production. And the largest part looks like it has about 91 lines, and it's a young man, 18 to 25. Play a fella named Jesse. Jesse from up the holler. Let's see here. Yeah, so it'd probably be, they say the Super Bowl is one of the largest human trafficking, what would you call it? One of the largest centers for human trafficking. It's where a lot of the more customers for that thing are than any other year. And every year they have tons and tons of busts, but most of them don't get busted, bringing, who knows who all they bring, where they get them from, but bringing mostly women and girls to mostly, rich perverts. And they do this every year. So you'd have to imagine an event like a NASCAR race, something like Bristol Motor Speed. They'd have to be some of that too. So maybe they're going to tell us a little bit about some of that. But it'd be interesting to see what they do with it. They are paying you to do it. I mean, most of these parts are paying $30 to $50 a day, which is not much, but for something doing fun. This woman, let's see. If you play Brandy, age 18 to 26, a woman kidnapped by the human trafficking organization, you have 41 lines, and they'll pay you $100 a day. So you'd be doing that October the 7th to 11th. That's pretty good, right? And 24 lines for $50 a day. So I don't know what they usually pay extras, but it seems like a lot of times they maybe don't even pay them. So that's pretty cool. They are asking for a volunteer right here to say a comfort message during the funeral. I don't know. It looks like they got a lot of dialogue if all these people are talking in the film, isn't it? It's kind of a lot to keep up with. A lot of extra characters to actually be talking. Well, let's see here. 353 Studios, again, if you want to check that out. Now, going on to the main event of the night. Tim sent me this story it's been a couple months ago. Not sure exactly when, but this is from technovation.biz. East Tennessee native helping deploy the first U.S. quantum network. This is something we really haven't talked about. We've talked about Smart Chattanooga and how it's one of the World Economic Forum 50 Smart City pilot program, along with San Jose in California. Those are the two that were chosen in the United States. And I had a viewer send me I've not really looked into this yet, but I think it's called the C40 that she sent me. And it's another conglomeration of different smart cities around the world. This one involving some like New York, and let me look it right here real quick. I wasn't really, the C40 cities. And if you go on the C40 cities archive, you can see, I'll just pull it up right here. .org, C40.org. And they all sound so benign. A global network of mayors that is leading the world's cities into united action to confront the climate crisis. And you know what that means, right? It means 15-minute cities. That means all public transportation that will only take you so far. That's for all us. That's not for the elite. They'll still go over wherever and whenever they want to. So, who are we, what do we do? Let's see what cities we're talking about here. Our cities. Look at them. They're dividing up the world here. They're doing it with flowers, but they're playing Risk, aren't they? Global domination. Global domination. That looks an awful lot like somebody trying global domination, right? Cities all around the world connected together, all the way from Ho Chi Minh to San Francisco, Portland, and it's the predictable ones in the North America: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Austin, Houston. I'm kind of surprised about that. New Orleans, Miami, Washington, Chicago, Toronto, Philadelphia, Boston, Montreal, Washington, D.C., New York City. And it's still part of more of these groups that are working together to try to bring in this technocratic control grid that we've warned you about over the course of the show. And we've been doing this almost 2 years. We started with the smart poles in Johnson City when we saw nobody was really making a big deal about anything about them, and they were just being accepted. And since then, we've seen them implement the smart electric meters, which, whether or not they are harmful to people's health, like some people say. I was never given a chance to know anything about it before it happened, other than it was in a city commission meeting, and then next thing you know, it was all being done, and somebody asked the city council about it, and their response was, well, I would think if there was something wrong with them, that Honeywell wouldn't be selling them. Well, you would think that, but you'd also think that, doctors wouldn't have lied to say there was nothing wrong with tobacco or anything like that. Or you'd also think that big chemical or big pharmaceutical products wouldn't release to the public products that are going to be harmful, yet they do all the time. There's all kinds of lawsuits and damages and stuff like that every year, every day it goes on. So that's pretty naive thinking. But to get back around to it, after we did that, we did then have the license plate reading software installed in Kingsport and in Elizabethton, and this was powered by Flock Security, which is a multi. I don't know if it's multinational, but it's definitely applied and it's in over 2,000 cities in the United States. So I'd imagine that it is multinational, but it's in over 2,000 cities and I think 42 states. So it's all over the country. And what's it's not so bad. Okay, if there was just a camera that they were looking for a bad guy, the camera sees the bad guy's license plate and says, okay, here's the bad guy, police. He's right here. Okay, that I don't think that's ideal, but I wouldn't have near the problem I have with that when we're talking with Flock Security and this interconnected network of cameras and scanners and servers and software that it collects a constantly evolving picture of all the vehicles that go through the intersection where these cameras are aimed. So not only do they take a picture of your license plate, they take a picture of your car, all the identifying marks around it, dents, scratches, busted windshield, headlight out, donut tire, bumper stickers. They say they don't identify you based on your face in the car, but I want to call bullshit on that. If you can tell bumper sticker, you can tell who's in the car. And not only do they collect all this information on every vehicle that passes through there in case they need it later to catch a bad guy, then it also goes out to a connected network of software and servers that are attached to a system of cameras in other cities, in over 2,000 cities. So let's just say hypothetical situation here that the bad guys are in control of the government, or let's just say that Skynet takes control. They have got a way to watch you everywhere. They know all your movement patterns. They know your behavior patterns, at least in traffic. And they also they know where you're going all the time. And if you were to try to hide from some bad guys, and they had control of this system, and it went into every city, would there be a way to escape it? I don't know. This is just a hypothetical situation, of course, but do you really want to give the government enough power to use that way if they did decide to? Especially when they're deciding that a lot of the things that we've done in this country for a long time are now going to be criminal or illegal, especially if you look at something like the Second Amendment, and in a lot of cases the First Amendment. People are being arrested for protesting, for exercising their Second Amendment rights every day. We even remember the abortion protesters down here in Tennessee that had the audacity to stand on a public sidewalk in front of a building where people were performing abortions and tell them that they wished that they would I don't remember exactly what it was. They wished that they would seek Jesus or something like this. And not only were they made to leave, but they were later arrested for this. You know, if you ask me, that's in total violation of their First Amendment rights. Yes, there is a law that was written, Tim, if you're watching, that says that they can't stand in front of an abortion clinic, but I think that that law is unconstitutional and illegal, and therefore they're within their right to ignore it. But anyway, they did not stop anybody. They stood there and talked to them. So anyway, that's it. Whether or not they made a law to make it where they could technically arrest you for that violates the spirit and the letter of the First Amendment. But there's all kinds of stories too of people being arrested for having a suppressor on their weapon or having a pistol brace in some cases. There's the forced reset triggers, all these bump stocks, all these things they're trying to ban that were already legal. And just the idea that if they suddenly decide that you're a bad guy because you have one of these purchases on your credit card history, that they can track you down with this network of cameras, it should trouble you. And especially when you think about that they want to do smart cameras and smart poles where they connect to your phone, they connect to your car, they look who you're traveling with, and they, if you're hooking up your Wi-Fi, I would have to imagine they have a copy, even if it's encrypted, of all the signal, all the traffic through your device. But anyway, back to Chattanooga, one of the pilot smart cities of the World Economic Forum, and this is from May 14th from 2023. The East Tennessee native helping deploy the first U.S. quantum network. Well, what would that entail? Let's just see. The first nodes in an EPB quantum network computer powered by Cubitek will be deployed in July, making Chattanooga a first in the country and only second in the world to have such a powerful network. And remember, a large hub for communications and internet data traffic is in Nashville, the AT&T center in there. Remember, whatever happened to that bomb? Remember that guy that blew up the van right outside of that? Right around the time, wasn't that right around the time of the election? And suddenly somebody shuts down all the communications on the internet through the Southeast? That was weird, huh? But guess what? I guess it was just a random crazy guy who happened to know exactly where to park that van to do that, huh? The guys here from Oak Ridge and from UT Knoxville have gotten together to deploy this the EPB quantum network powered by Cubitek. It says it's industry-led, commercially available quantum network designed for private companies as well as government university researchers to run quantum equipment and applications that establish fiber optic environment. So basically getting us set up for the next generation of computation and data transmission, and basically data transmission in this case because the universities and everything will build the quantum computers and they'll be able to attach them to this network. If I understand it correctly, the quantum computers operating on our current network it would be too slow to basically take advantage of them to their full potential. So they are going to set them up to be able to communicate over this network. And you would have to imagine that you'd have to have something like that if you're going to have one of these first smart cities. And especially with Oak Ridge being right there, UT Knoxville, I'm telling you, man, they're making this place over west east of Knoxville or Nashville is in for some real changes. Gird your loins, as Pumpkin Spice, the viewer of the channel, told us earlier when we talked about the casino. Gird your loins. That's just the first step. So, with that in mind, I wanted to show you this story a friend sent me. Now, this is from, we were just talking about quantum computing. Quantum entanglement is it's a process whereby we don't necessarily understand it, but in quantum physics, when you're viewing things on the subatomic level, subatomic particles have what's called quantum entanglement, whereas one particle is entangled to another, and even though they may be over a distance and there's no way for them to communicate between that distance, for some reason, if you affect this particle, you affect this particle. and they've actually tested quantum teleportation up to a few meters with particles, and even farther that, or with in photons, and even a lot farther than that with photons, but a few particles. But they looked at a visualization of the wave function of two entangled photons, and that's the elementary particles that make up light. And basically, well, let me read you this. Let me read you this here about their analogy on quantum entanglement. The concept of entanglement can be likened to selecting a shoe at random. The moment you identify one shoe, the nature of the other shoe, whether it is a left or right shoe, is instantly discerned, regardless of its location in the universe. However, the intriguing factor is the inherent uncertainty associated with the identification process until the exact moment of observation. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is the basic of that. You can't measure where something is and how fast it's going at the same time, because if you measure one thing, you're going to affect the other, and you're never going to get a perfect measurement of it. But the wave function is how they basically develop a probability calculation for how likely it is that a particle is going to end up in a certain way, a certain place. So if you have the wave function, you have basically a good understanding of the particle's quantum state. So you could say, well, they go to the shoe analogy here, and so they say in the shoe analogy, the wave function of the shoe could carry information such as left or right, the size or color, and so on. More precisely, the wave function enables quantum scientists to predict the probable outcomes of various measurements on a quantum entity, and that's what all this is about: developing probable outcomes. That's why they want to know where your car is going. That's why they want you to click the like button on Facebook. That's why they want you to post where you're going. They want to know the probable outcome of what you will do whenever they do something. And we're talking, just to clear it up, we're talking international bankers, we're talking the military industrial complex, we're talking all the heads of these gigantic corporate organizations, World Economic Forum, all these guys that were working together to do this stuff. So are they all united in the reasonings on their goal? I don't know. I'm sure there are some who are naive and who are going along with it to just going along to get along. Some who just really don't know. But I have to realize, I have to think that they know exactly what they're doing, and because the people like the World Economic Forum spell it all out. There's no place for human beings in the New World. Wired magazine spelled it out in 1999. The future does not need us because of what they call the Fourth Industrial Revolution. In the industrial revolutions before, you could break them down into three. We'll skip it all for brevity, but basically it used more and more mechanical power to push human beings out of roles in the workforce, and that's great. That's the way we improve society. The more productive you are, the less you can, if you're working in a factory, let's say, that builds cars, and your whole factory can only build one car per day, well, then you have to charge, a whole day's work for everybody in the factory in order to make that car. But if your factory can make 100 cars per day, instead of having to charge, $100,000 for that one car, you can sell 100 cars for $1,000 and still be able to make more. So it's definitely been a good thing. It's improved our quality of life, but now we have evolved our society to the extent that humans can basically have been phased out of most of the manufacturing. Robots do most of that stuff. Right now, you still need humans to click the buttons. You still need humans to tap the keys. But that's what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is about. It's about phasing all those people out. You notice how you got a kiosk where you can order at the Taco Bell. You got self-checkouts at the Walmart. That's just the first step. The very first, that's just a baby step towards this. And a lot of people don't like it, but, and myself, I don't like it, but I still... If I go to Walmart, I use fucking self-checkout, because who wants to stand in line for 20 minutes to check out with two things? And then they've got that grift too, where you're like, how was your experience today? And if you click 1 star, it looks bad on the cashier. I'm like, dude, it sucked. But I don't want this cashier to get a bad rating because he was nice or she was nice. So I just don't click anything. But the self-checkouts really do suck. But yeah, they really want to get you into this place where they as Yuval Noah Harari and Klaus Schwab and all these other big wigs at the World Economic Forum has said, there's a future without basically humanity, and they don't want to like kill us off, right? But they want to put us in a place where we can't really affect anything, sort of like in Brave New World, you know, where you just kind of dope everybody and program everybody and genetically engineer everybody into taking on the roles that you need them to for the function of the society that you've created, and free will be damned. That's kind of more what they have in mind. And for the rest of us, you know, they want to give us a place to go and sit and eat our bugs. They want to give us a VR headset to plug into, whether it's Metaverse or PlayStation or the Oculus or whatever the hell it is, so that spending time in that will be preferable to spending time in real life. And then you don't notice, it's just like in the Matrix when you're Cypher. You know, you're sitting there and you're eating your steak. And you're like, yeah, I know that when I cut into this steak, there's nothing there. It's not real. But my brain knows that. But when I bite it, it's juicy and delicious. And I'm not going back to eating gruel on the ship in the real world. I'm going to spend my time here in fairyland, in fantasyland, and I'm going to enjoy that. Meanwhile, my body will be used as a battery for the system. What a good analogy that is. But we're at 10:36 tonight. I appreciate you joining us. If you have any comments to throw in on this, be sure and do so. Like this video, share it around. Email us at theironmountainhour@gmail.com if you've got suggestions for guests or topics you'd like us to cover. If you think I'm full of shit, tell me. If you agree with me, tell me. Either way, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have the conversation. Jump in that chat and jump in the comments. Thank you again, and we'll see you Sunday. Have a good night.